Hey, everybody, good to see you. It's nice that Steph is wearing her Taylor Swift outfit today. Isn't that good? For you. Hey, this is a special day today. My friend Scott Jones is the pastor at the Third City Christian Church in Grand Island, is retiring today. And Scott is a dear friend. We were college roommates together and have been in the wedding things and all the stuff. And his wife is the main reason why that church is so great. She's an amazing person as well, and she's a lovely person. She grew up with my wife from day one in Wymore, Nebraska, so these are important people. And the Third City Church is a thriving, large, they're just getting after it really well. And so Scott's been over there for over 30-some years. And that is one of the keys to a growing church, is a pastor that sticks around and fights through the stuff and goes with people with that. And so Scott's done an amazing job. We both served in the Phoenix area for several years before they moved back to Nebraska before we got here. So we followed them back, and it's just been a joy. I'm so proud of him. I brag about him all the time because building a significant church in Grand Island, of all places, like who goes there? And anyway, I love those guys. So would you please just thank them for me? They have a tremendous staff. My friend Dan has taken over as a senior pastor there, and they really do it really well. So I'm really good about that. Anything else? Oh yeah. Hey, we got some kids here today from the Bennington area. We got a bunch of dance team people and football players, and we're so thankful that they're here. And I also want to thank them for being a part of it. Couldn't find any Scott players to come today. I don't know what's going on there. When we were living in Arizona, our church that was part of would put on these big pageants, usually Christmas, Easter thing. And they were big productions and a lot of actors that would do things and present the message in a very wonderful and creative and interesting way. And I remember this one Easter, we made the decision that our son Justin could come into the auditorium with us. He didn't usually get to do that. He was little and maybe 5 or 6 years old. And so actually his parents preferred that he not be in there. So we said, hey, let's bring Justin into this service and let him see the production. And so his eyes were wide, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. And we didn't have the camel things or the Arabian horse stuff, but it was pretty cool things that they were doing. We had this guy that looked like Jesus. He was on our staff, and so when the disciples and Jesus are coming in on Palm Sunday, there's a lot of activity and a lot of stuff. And Justin's eyes are like, wow. And he is taking it all in. And he leans over to his mom and says this: Jesus comes to our church? And I was happy to say, yes, he does. He does come to our church. And I suppose if he was here in person, he would say some stuff about us and what we're doing. He did that in the first century too. He went to church and he saw some things that bothered him. He was disturbed by some of the activity that was taking place in the early, religious world, and so he addresses that in what we call the Sermon on the Mount. This is probably his most important and significant teachings on a variety of topics, but a lot of it was he was just looking. And I got to address some of this stuff because it's out of bounds. And so that's what we were looking at is in this message series that we are calling Do Not. So there's some warnings, right? We talked about the warning lights. These are warnings to the people. And we talked about that last week. Do not pray, like this, so that everybody knows you and pat you on the back and get, because a lot of people are just praying out loud and doing some stuff so to get recognized. And then he addresses this in Matthew 6:16. And when you fast, do not make it obvious, that, as the hypocrites do. There are some people doing this. They're making it very obvious, and this is how they do it. Which, again, oftentimes sounds like church people. Listen to this. For they try to look miserable. You ever see, like, some of the most miserable looking people go to church? They're always sad, very serious, like it's a funeral. It's not here. Like, we don't, this is, there's funerals, but not on Sundays. And we're not pretending here either, but there is some, but these people were fasting, and they were looking like it. They were making themselves miserable, making sure that people notice, and they wanted to be admired for their fasting. I tell you the truth, that is the only reward they will ever get. So, and again, I planned this. I didn't really pay much attention to the calendar, and I should have, because talking about fasting on Super Bowl weekend is really stupid, right? Like anybody going, oh yeah, what? You want to come to the Super Bowl party? Yeah, well, we're not eating, so Mark doesn't want us to eat today. So, but I do think that it's funny. So, because here, Super Bowl Sunday, according to Tiger Fitness, this is what's going to happen today. 11.2 million pounds of potato chips are going to be eaten. And those are little, like they're fluffy. I mean, they're not like they're heavy. Like, that's a lot. You have to eat a lot of chips to get to 11.2 million pounds. That's crazy. But 139.4 million pounds of avocados are going to be purchased. And that makes sense, right? That's a good choice. Here we go. This might mess you up. 325 million gallons of beer on the wall. That's going to be consumed. That's a lot. Yeah. 10 million pounds of ribs will be eaten. Now, we need to step that up. That's bad. That's a poor, like, are you kidding me? Avocados are killing us here. But we respond here, 1.3 billion chicken wings. Boom. Now, Jesus is addressing some religious practices, and he's very serious about this. Way more serious than we are, by the way. Jesus is way more serious. Usually when he talks, he's way more serious. Like, we're kind of take it or leave it people, right? Oh, yeah, that sounds good. I don't know. But he's very serious about these things. He talked about praying, and that prayer is not a chance to show off our religious stuff. And the quickest way for people to think that we're religious is oftentimes when we pray out loud. When people hear us pray out loud, man, that guy's spiritual. Listen to that. That's cool. That's what he's saying. And a lot of times we get the pats on the back when we pray. And that sounds weird, but at the same time, we kind of gravitate towards, hey, notice me kind of stuff. Fasting is a practice also that was getting the attention of church people. And people liked the attention. Now, fasting is a practice that a lot of people participate. You don't have to be religious to practice it. A lot of people practice fasting for health reasons and all kinds of stuff. The very first sin in the Bible had to do with eating. They were supposed to fast from this food, and they didn't do it. They're supposed to, but they didn't do it. And Jesus says, when you fast, so he's assuming that they're going to do this. This is a part of our culture. It's a part of who we are. As Jews, we fast. There are certain days we fast. And he just says, hey, don't make it so obvious. The people coming to church looked like they were in mourning. They were withdrawn, all that kind of stuff. Whoa. It's still there. This is not part of the thing. Whoa, okay. Power through. So Jesus says, when you fast, look like you're cheerful. Be normal. Don't be weird. He even says, put oil on your head and wash your face. That's what you typically do. It's kind of like shout, like you just do these things. Do normal stuff. And I would probably even put it this way now. Christians, stop being so weird. Don't do weird things. You're scaring the non-Christian people. They're looking at you like, why am I, if I become a Christian, do I have to look and act and think like that, right? And again, Christianity, even Jesus, he's ushering a new way of doing it, and it was very confusing to people who were outside of Jesus. So it was confusing to the religious people. So being a Christian is a little bit confusing, and he's trying to clear that up. For the Jews, they did fast as a nation one day. It was on the Day of Atonement, and it wasn't just a fasting from food. They couldn't eat or drink or bathe or wear sandals or have sex. No wonder they look sad, right? Like, geez. Okay. So the early Christian people were fasting. Matthew 9 says it like this. One day the disciples of John the Baptist came to Jesus and asked him, why don't your disciples fast like we do and the Pharisees do? And Jesus replied, well, do wedding guests mourn while celebrating with the groom? Of course not. But someday the groom will be taken away from them, and then they're going to fast then. Besides, why would you patch old clothing with a new cloth? For the new patch will shrink and rip away, leaving an even bigger tear than before. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins, for the old wineskins will burst from the pressure, spilling the wine and ruining the skins. New wine is stored in new wineskins so that both can be preserved. So Jesus addresses this question that the John the Baptist followers were asking, and they couldn't figure it out. Why aren't your disciples fasting like we do? And even the Pharisees are fasting. Your disciples they seem a little immature. They're goofballs. They need to go deeper. They need to get more spiritual. It's a judgment statement here. And John the Baptist, they were just kind of confused by this thing. Like, why can't you be more like us? You're not doing it right. You should be fasting like the rest of us. Quit having so much fun all the time and celebrating. It seems weird, but that's what John's followers were asking. So Jesus says, hey, let me tell you a little bit about how we're thinking here. You don't fast during a wedding. I'm the bridegroom and I'm here now, so why would we fast? Someday I won't be here and there will be a time of sadness that will result of that. But right now, I'm here. And when he dies and stuff, that's a fasting moment, right? When you're sad, rarely do you eat well. In fact, you withdraw from food for a time because you don't even feel like eating. I don't feel like eating at all. Now, this was not a time for sadness. Now, Jewish weddings, they totally got that. Jewish weddings were so much fun. It was a great time. The whole community loved it. They didn't save their money for the honeymoon. They saved their money for the wedding party. They weren't like, hey, we're going to go to the Mediterranean. They were like, no, for a week, we're going to spend all the money we've been saving from birth till now so we can throw a party for our friends and family, and the entire community is invited. And everybody would save the date. Why? Because most of them were in the extreme poverty world. There were a few people that had extreme wealth, usually the religious elite and the Roman government officials that lived there. But rarely, most of the folks eked out a living. That's why even Jesus would pray, give us today our daily bread, because we don't always get our daily bread. We don't always have enough for what we need today. They weren't into the accumulating kind of stuff. They weren't storing stuff up like that. There were few who did. They were the wealthy. And Jesus even talked to the wealthy people. Don't keep storing up stuff like this. Store up other treasure. And he had to address that as well. But for most part, these people were very poor. So when you got invited to a wedding, you went. You didn't blow that off. Why? Because for a little while, you forgot about how difficult your life is. And you ate some good food, and you drank some good wine. And you danced, and you sang, and you caught up with your friends and family. It was a beautiful and significant moment. And that is what the kingdom of Jesus is offering. This is a celebration time, not a sad time. We don't go to funerals, we go to weddings. Now, Jesus would also kind of describe it this way, and it's kind of telling. Again, here's what the kingdom of heaven looks like. It will be like 10 bridesmaids who took their lamps and went in to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, 5 were wise. 5 who were foolish didn't take enough oil for the lamps, but the other 5 were wise enough to take along extra. When the bridegroom was delayed because he was playing golf, they were drowsy. I don't know if that was you, but the bridesmaids got tired and they fell asleep. At midnight, they were roused by the shout, "Look, the bridegroom's coming. Come out and meet him." And all the bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamps, and the 5 foolish ones asked the others, "Hey, give us some of your oil because our lamps are going out." Again, this seems a little harsh, but they said, "We don't have enough. We don't have enough for all of us. Go to a shop and buy some for yourselves." Oof. So they did. When they went up to go buy oil, the bridegroom came. Then those who were ready went in with him to marriage feast, and the door was locked. Again, harshness here. More to that harshness. Later, when the 5 bridesmaids returned, they stood outside calling, "Lord, Lord, open the door." But he called back, "Believe me, I don't even know you." Oof. "So you too must keep watch, for you do not know the day or the hour of my return." So Jesus is like, hey, there will be a time when we are ushered into that, but Jesus said 5 out of 10 won't be ready for that moment. Now, I think he was being generous. I think that he's being generous with that. I think if Jesus was here today, he would say to us, 8 out of 10 of you are not ready for this. You're not ready. And we know that to be true. Here in our city, 8 out of 10 people do not go to church on a regular basis. 8 out of 10. That's so disturbing. And that's why we try our very hard to reach our redemptive potential here. Because I don't know about you, but it's like if we could get it to 7 out of 10, that'd be a big deal. If we could get out of the 5 out of 10 people in Omaha and our surrounding areas and our state could get, if we could get that many ready, that would be a big win. And that's why we celebrate when we see baptism, and we celebrate when life change takes place, because we're trying to get out of the 5 out of, even 5 out of 10 stuff. And like those bridesmaids, they thought, well, I got plenty of time. I don't have to worry about it. Whatever. We're good. And all of a sudden, he shows up, and they are not ready. And it's tragic. Everyone in the room had a great time. But every outside of it was just mourning. It was a sadness. And they didn't get to celebrate at all. I love the fact that the kingdom of heaven is a celebration. Now, does that mean I can't cry? Like I can't have sorrow? Of course not. Let me clear that up. Here it is. Christians cry. We go through valleys. Jesus cried. He was known as a man of sorrow. Showing up with plastic smiles and Christianese words gag me. I know oftentimes we mean well, but it's okay to cry at a funeral. I did yesterday. I did a little bit this morning. Even though there's this idea and the understanding that there's no cancer now for her. And she's not sad. and she's not in pain. And I know that there's heaven and that she's breathing without the aid of anything else. So I don't despair. But someday I won't have any tears, but till now I have to dry my own. But someday there will be no more sin or sickness or cancer or sexual abuse. But until then, we have a lot to cry about. We don't have to even pretend that we don't. We do. But for the most part, our lives are filled with celebration. Even at a funeral, we celebrated. And we had significant conversations. And we laughed out loud and rejoiced because our Redeemer lives. So Jesus says this, anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds his house on a rock, solid rock. So this is the end of his sermon on the mount. So he gets to this spot where he says, though the rain comes and the torrents and the flood waters rise and the winds beat against the house, it won't collapse because it is built on bedrock. Anyone who hears my teachings and doesn't obey is foolish, like a person who builds his house on sand. You probably get a better deal on the house on the sand thing. You know, oh, why is the lot so cheap? Well, I don't know. I love the beach. Great. But when the rains come and beat against that house, it's going to collapse with a mighty crash. So we do know that storms happen in our lives. And it takes a great deal of fortitude to push back against the winds that come our way. We have to have some solid rock that we hold on to. Should a Christian pray? If you want to. Should a Christian fast? Well, if you want to. Should a Christian give? Well, if you want to. But when we do those things, it is not to get attention. Look at me. I'm really good at tithing. I'm really good at praying. I'm really good at fasting. Choose your spiritual discipline, right? So we have to be careful about that because Jesus wasn't saying not to do those things. He was just saying that when you do, don't do it so that you get the pats on the back or on the shoulder. Okay? Now, we've included some things on our website about fasting because this may be a new concept for you and a new spiritual discipline for you, and you may not like, oh, I think maybe I should do this. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to start. What does that mean? How does this look? And so on our website, there are some guidelines for fasting and how to do it. And I also would probably say to you, it might be better if you fast with your small group or some friends. I do better in disciplined areas of my life when I have somebody with me. I just know that if I have a friend, I will do better. I'll go farther and I'll stick with it, whether it's in any area of my life. So I would probably say, hey, if your small group, you talk about it's like, hey, I think maybe do you guys fast? How do you do that? Have you ever? Should we try it? And talk to your small group leader. Hey, I think it'd be a good idea that after the Super Bowl party, we should fast a little bit. Because I can't get off the couch. Okay. But I do think that it happens better together. We're better together in the spiritual discipline as well. So spend a little bit of time, read through that resource. Maybe you could just say, hey, I'd like to do this, and is there anybody would be willing to come alongside me? Maybe you got some ministry teams, people that you can be a part of. Maybe in your friends here at church, you can just kind of do that. So take a look at that and see if there are people in your groups and that can help you with that. All right, you can do it for a season, see how it goes. There's very good guidelines for you there as well. Psalm 63:1 says, "O God, you are my God. I earnestly search for you. My soul thirsts for you. My whole body longs for you in this parched and weary land where there is no water. Right? I'm hungry and thirsty for you. I have seen you in your sanctuary and gazed upon your power and glory. Your unfailing love is better. Why would he even say this? Your unfailing love is better than life itself. Oh, how I praise you. I'll praise you as long as I live. Lifting up hands to you in prayer. That's the beauty of a life with Jesus. All right. If you need to talk to somebody today about where you're at, if you're thinking, shoot, I think I'm one of those 5 that are on the outside looking in. I don't want the door to close on me. I think I need to take care of this. I'd be happy to talk with you after the service about your relationship with Jesus. All right, I'm going to ask you to stand with me, and we're going to pray again the Lord's Prayer. And I would like your help with this, so if you would say it out loud, that'd be great. It's printed on the screens, and we will have the Lord's Prayer ending our services every week throughout this series, all right? So let's pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, the power, the glory forever. Amen. Blessings to you. We'll see you next weekend.